4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Tavern Adjacent, a podcast I haven't done in 6 months. I'm not going to lie, because no one was joining. But now we have an incredible guest here with us today. The dungeon master behind Critical Role. The master of the flowing long hair. The intrepid, the incredible, the talented Mark Mercer. Thank you so much for coming to the show, Marcus. I really appreciate you being here.
Happy to be here, and represent all the underrepresented marks in the world.
Yes, indeed.
It's important.
It is very important. I had a whole bit where I have a fake birth certificate that says Mark Mercer on it, but you can't see me, so it's not funny anymore.
Oh, that's okay. The idea is enough.
Yeah, they can see me though. You guys got it. But anyway, thank you so much for being here. At first, I was really nervous because I didn't really know what I would talk to you about before Campaign 4. But recently, during your live show, you guys made a pretty huge announcement about the future of Critical Role, and that is that, sir, you will not be DMing this new campaign.
Yeah, I get to play. I'm really, really, really excited.
And I'm sure many of us are very excited to see you play because, obviously we've seen you as a player in Exandria Unlimited. You were great there. And obviously Brennan is also an incredible dungeon master and a very worthy choice.
There's nobody else I would have entrusted this to on the scale of what this is that many people I can entrust it to, but he's the person I'm like, you got this. I won't be stressing out too much. We've already collaborated on a number of things together, and we collaborate so well that it just feels like a natural shift. And yeah, we've been talking about it for a long time, and I'm glad that we finally got to tell you all, because we've been cooking on this for a minute.
That actually brings me to a few of my questions. Number one, obviously, it's no secret why you would pick Brennan. Very talented DM. You guys are clearly close outside of the game. But was there anyone else that you had in your head for who could take over the show, just in case Brennan couldn't do it? Did you have any alternate picks?
We have many people actually, and many people that we will continue to work with in future things as well. I don't want to say any names in particular because we have wonderful people that we have worked with in the past and people that we look forward to working with in the future. So and I don't want anyone to ever feel like, I was almost there, or any sort of what could be conceived.
Matt Mercer's not going to spill the tea on our tea podcast, guys. I'm really sorry, y'all. I tried.
No, I know, no, and I respect the attempt, but no, it was. We have a lot of people that we have a chance to bring in and collaborate with, and small scale things that we kind of then hold on to in our repertoire of people that we get to collaborate with in the future. And a lot of this was born out of the 10-year milestone coming up, having done this near weekly for 10 years, and the scale of all the responsibilities as they've grown in the years since we started this, juggling what pretty much amounts to 3 full-time jobs now, can be draining, but also, 10 years is a good moment to take a step back and let somebody else who's been, chomping at the bit to dive into this scale of world building. And Brennan has been one of those people for a long time. We've had many conversations of, this is his jam, and him wanting the opportunity to create and build something. We had many discussions about, do we keep in Exandria, but more I don't know. I wanted to let him off the leash, if you will.
Do whatever.
Yeah, to offer him that freedom and support to more or less take the baton and run with it in all the ways that he's been wanting to in his imagination for a while. And we happen to have the platform scope and community that wants exactly that, and has for 10 years. So very, very, very proud, very excited, and very, very eager for us to be able to show more very soon.
Oh yeah, I'm excited too. I wanted you sort of answered this question already, but I also wanted to ask, what were the pieces of decision making that led you to making this choice to step back from the DMing chair? Obviously working essentially 3 full-time jobs is a pretty compelling first reason.
I mean, a lot of reasons. That being one, just kind of general, you know, it felt like a good moment to take a break from that
Mm,
scale and scope of perpetual expectation. Um, there's an element of creative work that people who work in creative fields can attest to, that it it isn't just continuous output. It's not possible. You need to ruminate. You need to absorb. You need to find inspiration and tinker and consider and iterate and walk away and then come back. It's a very amorphous process. Um, and I'd realized over time that due to the demands of what had grown out of this, whether we expected it or not, um, it becomes a continuous need to produce creatively,
right.
and in multiple avenues now, and that can be a very draining and very scary thing. So I think it never reached the point of burnout, but there was definitely a threat on the horizon, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Um, and having a lot of creative things that I wanted to give attention to, more attention to, that I wasn't allowed that bandwidth. Uh, and 10 years of straight storytelling, you reach a point where you're like, I need to settle, let the inspiration come to me again, as opposed to constantly trying to reach out for it where it could possibly come, out of a general panicked state.
Yeah.
Uh, and so like, that sounds more dire than it was. Like it was just more of like a natural point of I could use a break,
I mean,
and
you've been doing this
and
for
and, and this.
10 years. Like
Mhm.
that's a lot, dude. To put it in perspective, you started Critical Role when I was in like 8th grade. I've gone through high school, I went through college, I graduated, all the while listening to Critical Role for 10 years.
Oh, I don't feel so good, Mr. Stark.
You're old, man.
Crumble into ash now, the ancient Mercer. I was saying, like, yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a minute, and I'm never gonna stop doing this. I love this too much, but I also have to be conscious of my own well-being and mental health, to make sure that I'm not just doing the work because it demands of me creatively,
Mm,
and really doing things from a point of being inspired and excited for it. And uh, I think 10 years was a good beat to take, to be like, okay, I'm proud of our 3 campaigns. I'm constantly iterating and building on Exandria in my head. This would be a good moment for me to kind of step back and let it simmer and let it develop naturally, and you know give somebody else that I genuinely respect, care about, and am excited to give the opportunity to run with it. And in many unique ways, there's a lot of interesting fresh dynamics in this campaign that I'm excited for you all
ooh.
to dive in.
But now looking back on like on 10 years of DMing, I've always been curious. Like 5 years ago, you did a podcast with Jacksepticeye, which was solid, really great. Love seeing you two together. But you guys talked about like the workday process, like what you do when you like go into the office. At the time, you were working on the Dark Horse comics. Legend of Vox Machina hadn't come out yet, so that was like consuming a lot of your focus. But I wanted to ask you about the DMing side of that, because like every DM has like their own process for how they do a session, and your sessions are seen by a lot of people, and you obviously are in a more high pressure environment than more DMs. One, I was curious how you found you coped with that as somebody who started playing out in the living room like everyone else. And two, I wanted to ask how you go about prepping for your games, like step 1, step 2, step 3, for getting a session of Critical Role out there.
That's a good question. So yeah, you're not wrong. There's definitely more pressure. Uh,
Sorry
you
about
know,
that.
the, no, it's true though. Like, running games for your friends at home, you know, you you can be a little sloppy with some of the world building if it unintentionally. You can leave space for plot holes that if the players never pick up on it, then it never happened and
Yeah.
everything's great. Like the players that are in the moment and they're playing the game with you and they're enraptured by each other's, drives and performances and the magic that happens at the table there, they aren't necessarily focusing on the nitty gritty of a lot of facets of the world building and any of the mistakes that could happen.
Yes.
A lot of them just kind of get hand waved away and forgotten, which is great. When your games are being watched by hundreds of thousands,
millions,
to a point, millions of people who are watching it from an outside perspective and from a media criticality standpoint,
yes,
all those things get picked up really easy and discussed and pulled apart and thrown in your face. And so there's a lot more pressure to make sure that the world building, the narrative, is as crisp as I can make it, outside of just wanting to make a good session that's fun for my friends.
Yeah.
So a lot of the preparation for a campaign and then for session is first taking the inspiration of what the players are excited for. It's still primarily like, if my friends are having fun, that's all that matters. Like that's the core of why anybody ever cared to follow us all this time, and we have to continue to believe in that. So like the core of it is, what would get my players excited? What have they done previously that kind of gives me a hint that they're looking forward to pulling on a thread or delving into a specific danger or asking these sort of questions or meet this kind of entity, and where the story of the overall narrative might be going based on how they've interacted with the world. Those help me first guide the outline for the session. So I'll beat out where we're starting for this next session, a few different places they're likely to go, out of just my sort of hope and expectation. Yeah, exactly. Like it's not that different from, anybody else who runs a game. Like, I think they might go here or they might go here, so I'll prep a little bit in both of these places and maybe a couple of things on the side here for a third if it ever happens, which they inevitably go to the fourth one you didn't prepare for.
Of course.
It's the nature of the beast. But yeah, so I kind of break out an outline there, and then I more or less do a lore and logic pass where I'm like, okay, are there any things that I came up with this that would contradict what I've already built for this? And then I go back and research previous sessions. I go and cross-reference older documents.
God, this is stressing me out just hearing about it. Oh my God.
No, it's true. But also because, on the other hand, the benefit of having all of our previous sessions online is I can go and find those places and like a conversation that I fully improvised on the moment. And I can be like, what the hell did I say? And I can go back and watch that bit and be like, okay, well, that's now canon, so I have to adhere to this improvised conversation, and that'll build off of this. So it is kind of like building my own little conspiracy board for each D&D session.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's weird. But once I feel confident with that, and everything's going to be 100%. I fuck up all the time. I'm a human. But as long as the people are having fun and it doesn't overtly break the lore to the point where it, makes our community up in arms, then I have to trust it'll be okay. And then from there, it's just fleshing out the session like I would any other time. Create a couple NPCs where there's some loot I want to drop in there, what feels fitting for this. And then that preparation gets kind of studied briefly and then printed out and forgotten before the actual, session at the table.
Yeah.
It's like, you can't be too obsessed with what you've prepared, because then you just end up reading the sheet the whole time or, not bending. It's like preparation is to make you comfortable to go where you haven't prepared. Yeah, so that's kind of my process in a nutshell. It's not entirely different from how a lot of people prep, just with a lot more having to triple back and check myself.
That's that part. That's the part I didn't even think about, you having to go back and check like old lore stuff, because your world's just grown so vast. You've got multiple textbook level length, documents that detail the lore of Exandria. It's very, and you have an animated show now too, so like you also got that going on. That a lot of people are being introduced to your work. We could talk about that in a moment. But one last thing, I know a lot of people aren't gonna feel this, but like as somebody who DMs for wargaming, I love the combat aspect of this, and I gotta say, like, I've just started DMing for 7 players, and holy hell, it is a challenge. 7 people is a lot of fucking people. How do you do it every week? And you almost always, I think, get the balance just right. So like, how do you do it?
A lot of practice. I've thankfully been running large groups for a long time. It kind of comes with the territory of being in some social circles where a lot of people want to play, but not a lot of people want to DM.
Oh yeah,
which is a common occurrence. And I, to your point, I've done a lot of wargaming. I grew up playing Warhammer Fantasy for a while. I played War Machine for a while. I love tactical games, both board and video game. So I have a fair amount of experience of what a flow of battle could be like, what's an interesting way to tactically do it. There are people out there that I'm sure that are far better tactically than I am, but I think I do pretty good for the size of the scale
you do great, dude.
Our group. It doesn't always work out. Sometimes they steamroll an encounter, but that's not a bad thing either, because you want to celebrate the players for doing really well. Some encounters go a little harder than I expect, and everyone's panicking. But that's part of the fun dynamic of it. So for me, it's a lot of it is just comes from experience and knowing the system pretty well. And sometimes the dice just make it more balanced than you anticipated. Like what I thought would be a fairly easy encounter sometimes becomes pretty intense. What could be a very hard encounter becomes a little easier than I expected. So like, and part of that too is guiding the players fun. If the difficulty, if you can read the difficulty as something that's the players aren't enjoying, that's a good opportunity to throw a wrench in the narrative to give them a glimmer of hope.
You peel it back. You peel back your difficulty.
Or in the sense of,
yeah, go.
Like introduce something to give them another option.
Oh.
So I wouldn't necessarily like diminish an enemy's ability. I don't want them to because the game aspect of it, and as the players requested, is like, don't hold back. This wants to feel like a real challenge. But if it's like diminishing the player's fun to a terrible degree, and you're like, well, I built this encounter to just be this. What can I introduce to this encounter to give them a glimmer of hope and excitement? To kind of tinge on their cleverness. Do you have like an enemy that they bash, get knocked into part of the wall, and the wall crumbles away, and you can see now there's an exposed arcane tether that looks like it's pulsing. Like, oh, we can use that to our advantage. Like finding those little improvised moments to kind of catch the player's attention and give them a moment to be clever, and let them turn the tide without you having to necessarily pull your punches. You're just introducing a new factor to it. Sometimes that's something you can prepare in advance and just have in your back pocket as a lever you can pull if you need it. And sometimes it's just, you're 2 hours into a battle and you're like, oh man, the dice have been really
long. We've been here a while, y'all.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, yeah, these are just things you kind of learn through experience, and hopefully people learn from watching, a lot of the great actual plays out there, people that show techniques of doing that, because it is a game, but it's ultimately a game that everyone's supposed to have fun with, and these are little levers you can pull to ensure that at least the flow and the fun of it can continue.
Okay, before I move on, an extremely selfish plug. Have you checked out a new tactical RPG that just came out, like right off the heels of Daggerheart? Very different from Daggerheart. Both games I have really enjoyed. But have you seen MCDM's Draw Steel yet?
Oh yeah, no, I'm one of the backers on it.
Hell yeah!
Oh yeah, no, Koval's a longtime friend, and we.
I didn't want to assume, I didn't want to assume that you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, fair. We knew each other from the video game era. He was a writer on a video game that I worked on years ago, and we bonded directly on our love of tabletop role-playing games. And that was for Evolve.
I knew it. I was about to say Evolve.
Yeah.
Oh man, I do know the lore.
I think it was it kind of started because he was the writer on the project, and Liam O'Brien actually was directing a little bit for that game, and Liam was emailing me about Vax'ildan. This is like when we were just before we started the Vox Machina campaign. He was like building out his kind of history and lore for Vax, and he meant to email it to me, and he accidentally emailed it to Matt Colville, and Matt Colville responded to it, giving him a dissertation of notes on his character's backstory with like
way.
like as a joke, tongue in cheek.
That's so awesome.
But it was so he's like, actually, I think in your backstory it would be more appropriate for his elven heritage to have this and this. And he was just like totally tearing him down for fun. But Matt Colville then forwarded that email to both of us, and then we all started chatting, and then we all got together and we played games together. And then he left Turtle Rock to start doing his own stuff with MCDM.
Yeah.
And I've been in for a couple game nights down at their studio. They're really, really good people, and everything they're doing with Draw Steel is awesome. Like, it's almost like where Daggerheart has a fair amount of crunch, but it leans towards the more narrative focus of elements.
Yes.
Draw Steel is the deeply tactical, wargaming meets 4th edition version of the tabletop game. And they both scratch different itches for me, which is amazing.
Yeah, and you got both now, and they both released at the
this.
same time. It's so good.
Yep.
Dude.
Man, no, their stuff is great, and remember, people should check out Draw Steel. They're awesome.
Well, yeah, there you go. Hey, you heard it from the man himself. All right, check out Draw Steel. But I'm trying to get. I made a whole I based it off of your what's it called? Get your sheet together. I did a whole series of that for Draw Steel, and then no one watched it.
Oh, cool.
Get over there, people. But anyway, selfish plug aside, we just brought up Daggerheart. Obviously, you've been doing that for a long time. I'm not going to ask you to confirm whether or not Daggerheart is the campaign for a game, because I know you're not going to say it.
No, we have announcements coming up soon. So.
I would do puppy eyes to get you to do it, but you can't see me, so it's not as funny. In any case, Daggerheart has released. You have sold out the game apparently multiple times over. In studio, I'm sure you guys. I mean, I don't want to actually make assumptions at all, but how successful did you think Daggerheart was going to be, going into this? As first-timers, not first-timers, you did the board game with Ukatoa and you did the Candala Obscura, but, first time making, a big TTRPG for long-form campaigns, you know what I mean? How'd you feel about, the pre-make process? What do you think would happen?
Well, based on the fact that it keeps selling out, obviously we didn't think it'd be this successful. We came at it from a very responsible perspective. The tabletop space, it can be fickle, and it can be crowded. And we were really, really excited and are very proud of this game, but you also never know. Yeah. You could very well release it and it just doesn't hit, the zeitgeist. And you don't want to overextend yourself to a financially irresponsible degree. Critical Role, Darrington Press, it all sounds very big. We're still not that big of a company. We're a few dozen people across the board, really.
Damn.
And that's on all facets of the company. And that it may seem like a lot in isolation, but that's production. That's Darrington Press, that's our marketing and our licensing, that's our dev team, that's us as the creators, that's our HR person,
Salute to the HR person, doing God's work.
I'm genuinely, Megan, you're the best if you're listening. But yeah, so we have to responsibly create as much as we feel would be to meet the demand of success, but that if it didn't do as well, we wouldn't put ourselves in a very bad financial space.
Yeah.
Thankfully, it's done really well and people are very excited about it. But that means now we're playing catch up. We're very much, and mind you, we still produced a lot. We produced a lot of Daggerheart. But the demand is, it's a good problem to have. It's certainly a problem. We're working on it. We're trying to get more out to
Hey,
everyone as
hey,
soon as possible.
this isn't the first time you've had to play catch up too. You've had to play catch up a few times. Like I remember all the way back when you first released your merch. Like I feel like the story of Critical Role is you guys playing catch up with the insane success that you've had. Even when you released your first merch drop, you sold in 5 minutes.
We saw it before we finished the.
Oh yeah, there you go. That is
it was 100 shirts, but we had no concept. Like we were still so early in the stages, and like I prefer to be playing catch up than to arrogantly assume
that you do
you
well.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And at the scale of what we're doing, it isn't just our success on the line. We have many employees and their families and their health care, and health insurance, and all of these things are part of our decision making process because we are responsible for all of these people's livelihoods. And so the excitement of success means that we can continue to do that in a meaningful way. But now it's the panic of catch up, which is a theme.
Hey, I mean, I agree with you. It's a good problem to have. Though I will say, you're not obviously not the sole contributor, but you don't seem like the kind of man who would be haughty and overconfident about anything.
I try not to for the base, partially because that's a trait that I really turns me off in people. And the minute that I ever stop appreciating all of this, I know something's wrong.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like, this is all so absurd. We're 10 years into this, and I look back at all this constantly and go, what the hell? How? Never, ever want to take that for granted, and always want to try and pay it forward every opportunity I can. The minute that fades, then something's broken and it needs to stop.
Yeah, dude. Oh, hell yeah. But I wanted to ask, just based on that point, there are a few videos on YouTube, like the moment the Critical Role cast knew they had something special in their hands. And they point to like a dozen different moments. The moment the shirts sold out, the first live show,
right.
From your perspective, what was the first time you realized, like, holy shit, this is a thing that we have here?
I think this has been, to your point, a lot of them. And each time is like, we just keep being like, man, this is the best I'll ever get. And then another thing happens. I'm like, what is going on? I think the moment that really hit me was our first major charity drive.
Really?
And seeing how much the community came together for 826 LA. Like, I've been part of different charities and doing charity work and volunteering since high school, and was excited to raise $300.
Yeah.
And been part of some voiceover initiatives and some projects and raise a few grand, and that was so exciting. And then with our very first 826 LA charity partnership, we raised, off the top of my head, I'm thinking like 10-15K, somewhere in that ballpark. If I'm getting that wrong, my apologies.
No.
But it was such a degree that it was like, wow, we get to meaningfully like change some kids' lives with this, and fund this program out of just the goodwill of the community that's risen around us, rolling dice and making shit up. Like, this is wild.
Damn.
So, the t-shirts were crazy, but that was also 100 t-shirts. And we were like, okay, wow, okay, that there are people really want merch then, because it was a reaction to our community being like, why is there no merch? We're like, because we don't make merch. We're actors. What are you doing? But I think that the charity work really kind of, that changed things for me. And that was the impetus of, even back then, the Critical Role Foundation was like a glimmer in my eye. And I was like, one day it'd be awesome to actually have a foundation that we could utilize to partner with other charities directly and kind of really, really harness that. And it took us a while to get there, because it's a really difficult process, as we've come to learn.
I will ask you to walk us through that. I don't think that anyone wants to hear that.
No worries. Just a lot of paperwork, a lot of approvals, a lot of legalese, which is good because no one should be able to just make a charity willy-nilly.
Oh yeah,
100%. That's how
100%.
charity abuse happens. But yeah, we finally got that up and running back in like 2020.
Dude, that's like the fucking most wholesome answer you could have given. Like, I was out here saying like, oh, your first live show sold out your merch. Nah, this guy's out here talking about his first charity initiative. Oh my God, you're a good dude, man. God,
But
stop being so
because like
nice. It's distasteful.
well, like you can look at a point and be like, man, this is personal success. That level of charity scope is cultural success. You know, that's making like
Oh my
actual
God.
change. That's fucking powerful, man.
This guy's too good. What's he doing here with me? Oh man, he's corrupting me with his kindness. I'm gonna become a nice person soon.
Come join me.
Oh damn. Okay, well, all right. I know you're a very humble man, but I'm gonna ask you to not be humble just for a moment, man. Just for a moment, because you've been doing this for 10 years. All right, every DM has like that session where you look back on it and you think, damn, I made that look easy. Like, obviously, you're not the sole contributor. You have like a whole cast behind you that's also doing incredible work. But as a dungeon master, you yourself, I want to hear about your proudest moments when running Critical Role.
Oh man.
I can hear the gears spinning.
Trying to think. I mean, one of the first ones that I got to drop that I'm still very proud of today is the arrival of the Chroma Conclave in our first campaign.
Ooh.
The destruction of Amon and the remaining dragons of the Conclave coming and just wrecking the true home base of Vox Machina. That was definitely me firing on all cylinders because I've been thinking about that moment since I first started the campaign.
Yes.
Like it's one of those moments for the DM where you're like, I'm gonna seed this throughout the game because I hope that one day I get to do this moment.
One thing.
Yeah. And then I got there and I was like, buckle up, Buttercup. Let's go. You know, it was great.
And you spend all that time like hyping up this moment in your head, and you're like worried. Like, I don't know about you, but I always get worried when I hype up a moment before the campaign starts. Like, am I gonna be able to live up to this moment in my head? But when you actually do, it is the most validating thing on the planet.
Oh yeah, it doesn't always work out.
No, it does not.
Number of sessions where I'm like,
Nope.
that didn't hit. But you know, the ones that do, oh, they feel good.
Oh well, I gotta. Okay, well, that was about to be my next question. You're such a humble man. I need to know. Also, as a DM, there are times where you look back at a session and go, "Yikes! Could have done that better." As a DM,
Oh yeah.
what were those moments for you? What were the biggest learning moments from Critical Role, and what you take away from them?
Oh man. You can attest to the rest of the cast. My first question after each session is, "Was that okay? Did you guys have fun?" Like I'm always so
Dude, I asked that
anxious
during
and
the
wanting
game.
feedback. Yeah. Like and so there's no shame in that for anybody who, you know, check in with your players and have conversations about what you can do better or what they really like so you can do more of it. That kind of communication is really healthy and really helpful. But yeah, like there have been battles that turn into slogs because my balance was off, or you know, I was still grasping what makes combat visceral and with stakes, but not just long hit point beat fests, you know. And like there's definitely a number of battles like that just went on, and I was like, I should have put some other, you know, levers in here to shorten it, or to I've generally lived by the rule of high damage, lower hit points.
Yeah.
You know,
Glass cannon.
especially with a table of 7 or 8 players, where like you're not going to have that many rounds of combat, but you still want it to feel meaningful and dangerous. Other sessions are just like having a rough week. I'm having a hard time pinpointing one or two specifically, but like, you know, I'm also a human being, and I'll have like a rough week, or like, you know, be wrestling with some like personal tragedy or something, and trying not to bring that energy into the room. Yeah, and it leaks in a little bit, and afterward I'm like, oh man, I should have had better energy on that. I should have compartmentalized a little better. You know, I could feel that was the case. So like, yeah, I mean, it happens to everybody, and there's nobody harsher on my ability to DM than myself. Trust me.
Yeah.
As much as Reddit may try.
Sorry.
Yeah, like I even even the sessions that weren't optimal, you know, I'll check in with the players afterward and ask like, what are your favorite moments of that? and try and focus on the good. You
Yeah.
learn the lessons, but you don't want to shackle yourself with the albatross of regret.
Yeah.
You just learn those lessons and do better next time.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Obviously they're not DMing Critical Role Campaign 4. So a question I had in my head before you made that announcement was like, what lessons are you taking into the next Critical Role campaign from campaign 3? But I feel like I could still ask that as a player. Like when you,
Yeah.
because I mean, you've got 7 incredible players in front of you all the time teaching you lessons about how to be a better player. And you're obviously a great player yourself already. So like, what are you taking in? What kind of energy are you bringing into this next show?
I'm bringing in the energy of one, creating a character that how best can I put it? I don't want to say fills a void, but bringing a character that naturally fits a gap in the lineup of the other characters that make this world that we're playing in so dynamic.
Yeah.
Maybe it is a very DM thing to be like, what's everyone else picking, and I'll pick what fits in their
Yeah.
type scenario. But even then, but even at that point, I had a concept in my head for this character, that is probably a little different than expected.
Ooh.
This yeah, what I'll say, the lessons I took into this campaign is, um, nothing's more fun than taking risks, and I'm definitely leaning into that adage for how I'm approaching this campaign as a player. I've watched my players do that so many times, and I say my players, I mean like across people I've been able to DM for at Critical Role, at Dimension 20, at charity games, and other ancillary things. Like every session is an opportunity to learn from so many different players, and I'm taking all these lessons. And one of the big ones is just, what's the point if you're not going to take some risks?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great lesson to take into this show. So obviously can't reveal what the world is, but if you could give me just like one word to like describe like the flavor of what people are getting, what soup Brennan Lee Mulligan's gonna be serving up for the audience, what word would you use? Without revealing too much, I assume.
What's a good? Okay, and I have a couple words here. Let's see what would be a good one for this. To describe the world, change.
Ooh.
Like it fits the theme of the actual changing of the guard from the MC, but like it is change. I'll say there's a theme.
Awesome. Heading over into like we've talked about the cast. Obviously your cast is amazing. The cast includes your incredible wife Marisha Ray. When you were talking with Jacksepticeye, you were very open about how you guys handle working together at the same company. Everyone handles that differently. I'm firmly of the belief that partners can work together without it causing a disaster, but everyone does handle it differently. So I was wondering, 5 years after that Jacksepticeye episode, like how do you guys navigate this relationship, especially with so much going on?
So a lot of it's just talking.
Hell yeah.
Communication, man. Like it sounds so hackneyed, but goddamn, like so many problems can be handled if people just talk, just honestly express themselves to each other in a non-judgmental space. And for us, it's also making sure that we take every opportunity we can to carve time to spend time together. Which can be difficult in the scope of things, and a lot of time you're working together isn't the quality time together, so you can't assume that that's the same. So it's making sure that at least once a week we have an evening that we can spend together, even if that's just chilling on the couch and playing video games side by side.
What's your game of choice right now?
Yeah, I mean it's pretty great. We're right now playing. I'm playing Blueprints on my Steam Deck, and she's playing Donkey Kong,
Hell
and
yeah.
that's a great couples wind down. But yeah, and a lot of it's just checking in with each other. We've been together now almost 15 years, and
Dang.
I know it's crazy.
That's like
Doesn't feel
2/3 of
like
my
it, but
life.
oh gosh. But yeah, it's and it's not always easy because work frustrations when something isn't going right, or like the stress of something coming up is mounting. Uh, you can express it to each other, but you're also both invested in the stakes of it. But that also means that you can uh, commiserate to a certain degree and
Yeah.
support each other. And all that just comes with talking and allowing time that isn't work related between the two of you. That's so important. If you work together, you have to make sure you carve time where you're not working together.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's great. Hey, your wife's got incredible taste in video games. I've been wanting to get Donkey Kong Bonanza, but unfortunately, I'm not in that upper tax bracket. Nintendo Switch 2, out of my range. But in any case, um, I also wanted to ask. I know this happened a while ago, and most people have already probably forgotten about it. But I've always wanted to know. You got to be Adrian to her Rocky when she was going and boxing in Creator Clash. I wanted to know what that was like on top of everything else. Because training, I mean, obviously there was no like danger or anything like that. I assume, but like I still imagine it was a little bit of pressure.
Little danger. I mean, it's still boxing.
It's still boxing.
It's still beating the shit out of each other. But no, it's interesting that whole experience because the first Creator Clash was so wholesome, and we had friends who competed in it, and it was just like, oh, this is something that's cool and meaningful and working for charity. It's like and it's a personal challenge that friends who never thought they would do it went through it and went, this was very hard, but I'm very glad I did it. And I think Marisha was very eager to have that sort of experience for herself outside of the business.
Yeah.
And it was Erin Hansen actually from Game Grumps, more or less was like, we're looking for more female boxers if you're interested. And she was like, do I do this? Do I do this? I do this. And then you went ahead and agreed to do it and trained her ass off for 6 months. Like it was, that was a whole nother practical, like, part-time to full-time job on that, because that sort of athletic training regimen is not for the lighthearted. Like she was, working out 4 hours a day practically, and then the rest of it was recovery, having to eat enough. Like even just the eating aspect of it was crazy. The soreness and recovery, it was a lot. But I think she wanted to challenge herself to see if she could do it. And she's like, I just want to last all 5 rounds. I just want to last all 5 rounds. That was her whole thing. And she managed to, against a girl who was much younger than her, and it was a dancer, and had been in the previous one, and she did great. Everyone did great. It was a really, really fun event. Unfortunately, as we discovered, there was some mismanagement of
Yes.
the project and the charities, and that was extremely heartbreaking, because like a big part of what this was, big part of what made it exciting to do was the charity aspect of it. And I think that was rough for Marisha to process. That definitely, she took a heavy hit, putting all that effort, energy into something, and to have that, to have that be kind of the outcome and the legacy of what she was a part of
the event.
It's very unfortunate. However, in the lighter part of that experience is, one, she was a badass and proved that to herself, enough that she had to prove it to anybody else. And made a lot of really, really good friends through the experience too. Like it, there was no regret to it. Maybe a reticence to ever engage in it again, but
of course.
But overall, I think it was a positive personal experience for her, and we were just happy to be there and cheering her on and watching her and her opponent get bloody and in the middle of this arena. It was wild. It was wild. And Mercer's mom was next to me going like, "Oh God, don't hit her in the face." I'm like, "She can take it.
She can take it." But in any case, I did want to ask, like, speaking of, like, Critical Role is, like you said, in the grand scheme of the world, not a huge company, but you guys got a lot going on. And in the world of TTRPGs, you are a major figure. And you guys have had your share of kerfuffles online. I was actually curious about, like, you have a PR team and a crisis management team that I assume is good at their jobs, because you guys have, for the most part, maintained a pretty squeaky clean image, even from the perspective of an asshole like me. I was wondering, as the cast, like, how much do you guys know about that part of the business online, or do you just like leave it to the team?
We don't have a crisis management team. We have a PR team, but
Yeah.
they just kind of handle our PR and contact. We just kind of handle stuff internally. A lot of it is learn. Look, there is no precedent to what we're doing.
Oh yeah.
On this scale, and I've talked with many, and we're very good friends with a lot of other people in the space, and we compare notes constantly.
Mm.
I joke that a lot of our journey has been stepping forward into the dark and then turning over our shoulder to the rest of the folks, being like, "All right, don't step there. This hurt. This path is pretty clear. Go this way." So yeah, we've had all sort of lessons and things, and admit when we're wrong, learn from it, and move forward. And try not to engage in bad faith.
Yeah.
That's the big thing, because there's there is legitimate criticism that is viable and constructive, and you learn from it. And we're all human, and we make mistakes, and we are open and eager to learn from them. But it's getting harder and harder to suss out what is legitimate criticism versus what is bad faith criticism in a social media space that is algorithmically designed to benefit those who drive up the most rage. And I've had a hard time with that. I did deep therapy for a number of time because it was really eating at me.
Yeah.
And I've had to learn. I've had to learn how to better suss that out or just not engage.
Okay. Wait, hold on. I am curious though, because I don't know if I might have mentioned this on the channel, but you DM'd me over a tea video that I did over oh, how did you stumble on that? Were you just scrolled on YouTube one night and just boom?
Yeah, it was in our algorithms because we watch a lot of friends actual play stuff or interviews, and we have a very nerdy algorithm, very weird algorithm, because it's like that meets some of our friend content creators meets weird, dark, macabre deep dives and science videos. That's pretty much our four corners of our algorithm on YouTube.
Okay.
And yeah, and your video just showed up there, and we were like, is this another one of those rage bait channels? And then we watched it and went, oh no, this is actually well researched, clever, and I don't know, like a breath of fresh air for that sort of tea discussion sort of content. And so I was like, I actually appreciate this vibe.
I am so flattered. And then you complimented my shadow heart, which was like, dude, when I say my heart sang, it sang. I was screaming. That was so sweet of you. But anyway, wow. I was very surprised to see if all the content you would find, it would be that one. But yeah. In any case, another thing you brought up during Mauritius training that a lot of people didn't see, the challenge of all that, of the dieting and the training. You yourself wasn't doing anything like that, but with your DMing with Critical Role, I mean, you do face a lot of challenges. We've discussed some of them on this very show, but I wanted to ask, of all the challenges, what's one that you think people don't normally see and that you think is a big part of your business?
Interesting. From the DM standpoint or just overall?
Ooh, either, man.
I mean, and I've been pretty open about the DM stuff. There's not a whole lot that people don't know there, other than probably the perpetual anxiety of hoping. I'm hoping the Mercer effect isn't really fucking up people's life.
Dude, I honestly, I made a tweet about this. I think that's the most over-discussed thing in the history of ever. But, if anything, I think it says a lot about you. You're so good at this. People literally create an effect off of how good you are at this or how good they perceive you to be.
I guess, but here's what's funny to me is, and I've talked with a lot of people about it over the years, partially because I'm like, oh my God, what have I done? People going no, calm down. I agree. I think it's far too over-discussed, and I think it's used as a cudgel more than an actual earnest point of conversation. I'm not saying it doesn't happen or whatever the actual experience is, but to me that says more about a shitty table of players or
Exactly.
a bad player than it does any sort of impact that I'm having. That's going to happen regardless of people having unfair and weird expectations. That's just a percentage of human beings being assholes.
Yeah.
It's a shame that my face is stapled to that. But I've gotten over it. I think at the early stages of it, I was like, oh no. Now I kind of like, sure, whatever, it's fine.
Do you ever regret
with age and experience?
Do you ever regret? Because like I feel like I might be driving in the wrong direction, but years ago you put out a comment on a Reddit thread about this that got a lot of attention on YouTube. That I feel like that was one of the points that kind of normalized this terminology and discussion. Do you regret that you made that comment all those years ago? Obviously, you can't change it now, but like I was wondering, now aged and with more wisdom, would you have done that?
Probably not.
Yeah.
But also back then, I mean, you know, I try and engage and personalize my place in this industry as much as I can because I'm just a person. And being honest often I think is the best way to handle these things. It doesn't always mean that it's the right place or the right people to
Be honest with.
engage
Yeah.
in that honesty with. And that ties into to being able to figure out the bad faith perspectives there. And goodness knows, I've had my moments of emotional weakness where I felt challenged or hurt, and maybe expressed things too honestly for a public space when, as I've learned, the perceived dynamics of accepted celebrity in space engagement versus a normal person is not allowed.
Yeah.
I've abdicated the ability to be humanized in the eyes of some communities, and as such are not treated as in similar grace. And that sucks at first to realize.
Oh yeah.
Like it's a very painful experience to be like, okay, I guess I'm not allowed to have feelings, but all right, that's where we are now. And that was part of the path into therapy. So yeah, to answer your question, like, yeah, I probably wouldn't have engaged with it. I was hoping, and I can, every now and then I'll jump in and try and drop supportive things here and there if something crosses my, the rare occurrence that I drop into social media these days, and hope it's not taken out of context or misrepresented. But yeah, in the earlier days, especially like where I felt a responsibility to engage more. This is an interesting discussion point. With the rise of Critical Role, I had this weird period of time where, because the success and perceived growth of D&D in some ways was tethered to the rise of our actual play, I felt this pressure from the community to not misrepresent
what
the
D&D
experience
was
of playing D&D.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I felt like I couldn't fuck up the rules, because if I did, I was misrepresenting the game and people would yell at me, and they did.
Oh yeah.
But at the same time, I didn't want to feel like I was changing the way that I engaged with the game with my friends. And I do look back at like some episodes that I made calls that were maybe too harsh because I was sticking to the rules because I felt that pressure, and I could have just vented a little bit for everyone's joy at the table. And I engaged a lot more in kind of the general community at the time because I was a part of it. I grew up in that community in the early days of the internet forums and stuff. And then I watched that dynamic change, where I was no longer a member of the community. I was a topic of the community. And then I was a target of the community. And I was like, okay, I'm not really
a part of this in the same way
for me anymore. Yeah.
Damn.
That was weird.
Damn, bro. You got way deeper than I thought you would, but that's real though. That's real. Like I mean, I can barely handle 100,000 subscribers. I couldn't imagine an audience of 2 million.
Dude, everything has its cost.
Oh,
That's a
yeah.
phrase that comes up often. Everything has its cost. A lot of great things, wonderful things I'm so grateful for would never change, and that gratefulness will never go away. Everything has its cost.
Oh yeah, and I'm glad to hear you be open about that because that's real. But in any case, just the last question I wanted to ask as we wrap up here. You have done incredible things. 3 full campaigns, over 100 episodes each, thousands of hours of content, multiple spin-off shows. You've got, a whole merch line. You've got Dark Horse Comics. You've got 3 seasons of an Amazon Prime animated show with a spin-off on the way, 2 more seasons coming soon. You got the 4th campaign coming. You have a video game being developed. You have a publishing arm with a successful TTRPG that has sold out multiple times over. You've done so much, and it all started with a birthday D&D game at Liam O'Brien's house. If you could give that guy just some advice, what would you say to that guy?
Try and sleep a little more.
Oh my god, dude, I emailed you at like 2 a.m. because last night because I was staying up late for a video that's probably not even going to do that well. Dude, that's advice for me.
Yeah, it's like it gets more important the older you get.
Oh yeah.
Sleep a little more, man, because sleep is important.
I got
don't
time.
Get there enough.
Matthew, I'm 20. I got time.
Yeah, you got time. No, you should sleep a little more.
Yeah, definitely.
No, I wouldn't change anything.
Wow.
Even the I tell them I'd go back to me at the beginning of all this and just say it's gonna be okay. Just be yourself.
Dude, you got it.
Like even the mistakes, the lessons are important, and I wouldn't change them either. So, yeah.
Hell yeah. We have one last segment. It's a short one. Pinky promise.
Sure.
But we have Thing of the Week. Hit the thing. All right, my thing of the week is I can't say the name of the restaurant because I'm going to dox myself, but I found an amazing Chinese place that's like 15 minutes from my house that sells half duck for like $19. And I don't know about you, but duck is my favorite poultry. It does horrify a number of my D&D players that I I don't play D&D anymore. It just horrified a number of my Draw Steel players that I eat duck. but I love it. I adore it. It's so delicious. And if you ever have a chance to eat some delicious roast Peking duck, then go ahead because it will change your life. I just brought some friends there and it was amazing. Matthew, sir, what is your thing of the week?
My thing of the week? I mentioned it earlier, but Blueprints, awesome video game that it's like a roguelike architectural expansion escape room mystery puzzle.
Man just
game.
Threw every keyword and the Steam DB right in my face.
It's hard but it's all true. It was a game that was recommended aggressively by many friends over months, and I finally had time to sit down and start playing it this past week. And I love it. It's a very unique gaming experience, and it's been in the moments I've had to center myself this past week and just these past couple days and this weekend. It's been a great thing to immerse myself in. So that's been my shiny bit this week.
Anyway, thank you so much for coming on to the show. I mean, I highly doubt you have anything to. I mean, if you want my tiny little bit of internet traffic to your massive 2 million subscriber platform, feel free to. What do you got going on this week? I guess.
No, I honestly check out Critical Role Foundation. We you can find it on our website, critroll.com. You can find the foundation tab there. We have a lot of really cool upcoming charity initiatives, and we're going to have another cool thing we'll be announcing soon. That'll be very weird and wild. So keep an eye out there.
You're so nice. You're making me believe in humanity again. Holy shit. Anyway, Matthew Mercer, everyone. obviously an honor and a privilege to have you here. If you guys enjoyed this amazing episode and you are loyal to the tavern, then please do leave the comment, thanks Matt, to let me know you were loyal and made it all the way to the end of the show. But if you enjoy and want to see more of our content, check out the other episodes of Tavern Adjacent, I guess. We did more of them. None of you guys know about that because it was like a year ago, but we did do more of them. I pinky promise. They did exist. It's linked up in the cards, but before you go, please leave a like on this one, subscribe to Crispy's Tavern so you miss any of our content when it comes out. And finally, if you want to support us directly, then you can head down to our Patreon where you can get exclusive D&D content. In essence, like, comment, subscribe, support. We will both see you all next time. Farewell.
Thank you so much.
Matthew Mercer, the dungeon master behind Critical Role, knows who I am and likes my videos. Oh my god!